Welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Big Fella and Little Fella Cricket Show. I'm the Big Fella. To my left, as always, Little Fella. How you doing this week, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
I'm excited. You know why?
Why?
Big Bash has finally got exciting.
It has. It's finals time.
Finals aside, it took 6 weeks, I'm going to say, for me to get interested and really motivated in watching it. Just very sort of stuff, you know. No imports. We've gone on about this before, but finally it's just turned the corner. The Renegades had started competing, albeit it is finals time.
Far too late.
Left their run a little bit too late. We're going to talk about that later. As usual, we'll talk about the latest news. We'll talk pathway. Under-19 World Cup is on the go at the moment. Little fella's going to have the blowtorch as usual. Mate, we'll get straight into it. A little bit dated news, but we're going to talk Australia-India. The Australians... for some strange reason, took a break from dominating in Australia this summer and flew to India for a 3-game series. Mate, what went right?
Yeah, disappointing that we had to play there, isn't it?
Just a why, you know? We're having fun over here. Why send them over there?
Yeah, it's just the timing of the year. No issues going to India, and I think it's always good to get exposure in India. It's different conditions, and it's always a good competitive series with the crowds.
But it was a one-day series. We're going to a T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
Here. Why?
It doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
It really doesn't.
Not in the slightest. You got to think that Virat and co did not want to get on a plane, so we bowed to the the Indian cricket folk and said, "All right, we're coming." Who went well, mate?
I think, obviously we went down 2-1, which was disappointing considering with this position we were in a few of those games. We probably could have won it. I thought Adam Zampa was really good. He really stood up, and he's really probably now in my mind going, he is definitely our spinner. There's been a lot of talk about Agar, who also played over there. Everyone brings up Nathan Lyon here and there. There's a couple other young kids coming through. We talk about Mitch Swepson a lot. Who's going to take that spinner spot? Well, Zampa really stood up in his white ball cricket.
Have we jumped the gun by calling Virat Zampa's bunny?
Yep.
There was a bit of talk going on.
I don't think you can call anyone's bunny, to be honest. He's that good. But yeah, look, I thought Zampa was really good over there.
And Smith and Minnie Smith.
Yeah, Steve Smith and Marcus Labuschagne. I think it's a great selection, Labuschagne, to get him in there. I mean, if you look at his one-day stuff domestically, he's probably not done enough on that front. Obviously, different circumstances, but yeah, I think 3 and 4 are sewn up now for a long time in the ODI side, which is really good to see.
For me, and I'm going to say it again, I found it a bit of a pointless 2 weeks. And we've harped on about the Big Bash not being that exciting. Why wouldn't you just get the national boys straight into the Big Bash? How good's it been?
Yep, they definitely
Marnus in, Smith in, Hazelwood, Lyon, all the big dogs coming and playing Big Bash. It's like, yes, now I want to watch. Why wouldn't you flag your 2 weeks in India and just say, nah, boys, you're going to play domestically? Well, it's a global competition, but you're going to play domestically. You're going to give the Australian public something you want to see. On top of that, it's a T20 World Cup year. Get the boys playing T20.
Yep, great point.
That's enough on that Indian series. As I said, it was a bit meaningless for me. Most exciting, as I said, Big Bash has got exciting. It's off the back of young players being able to play. A couple of the boys we've had on the show, in Lance Morris especially.
Yep.
We joked about him with the nickname The Wild thing, but he's been clocked up around the 148, 149. Now, you were talking off the record to one of the Stars coaches, and they reckon he's got another 10 Ks in him.
Yeah, I mean, you can see he's got a real strong action. His best is going to be very, very good. At the moment, his worst is probably somewhere down here. He's a young quick. What do you expect? But look, he's going to be a very good player for a long time, and I think a lot of cricket people know that with guys like that, they do take a bit of time, and they kind of need to go through that process of coming in, realising what they need to do to get to the next level and bowl 6 good balls rather than 4 or 5, and they're getting punished on that. Stars
decided to wheel out another let's call him surprise packet import who, well, let's face it, didn't really work. Yeah,
pretty poor, wasn't it? I mean, you go to Lahore and you go, okay, well, Harris Ralph works, so we're going to take another gamble on Dilbar, and yeah, 1 for 56 or 4 overs probably isn't good enough. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't see him again.
With a name like that, it could have been a...
could have been a cult hero.
Yeah, it could have been a cult hero, Dilbar. Unique looking bloke as well. Obviously bowls pace with the glasses on, which is a bit of a different look.
A few people I spoke to said in the old video games, just your stock standard prototype person. That's him. that was the image they actually used.
AB de Villiers has had some decent innings.
Yeah, up and down. I mean, you expect that, though. At the end of the day, that's the kind of guy you want to send a Big Bash. Like, 100%. To an extent, okay, you want to win games and that's why they go to Asia and pick these spinners. But it
Hasn't
really
helped
is,
out
it's been
because the
exciting.
Heat have been terrible.
I'll get to that later.
The Heat have smelled something chronic. It has been good, though, to see your Starks, your Cummins, your Smiths, your Labuschets in playing. It really does
Yeah.
add to it. And
Even,
it makes you want to switch on. When you know the most exciting thing? When they actually go head-to-head.
Yeah.
No, I know we talked up the Smith versus Labuschagne thing, but for me it was AB versus Smith the other night. That's excitement for me. That's like, shit, I actually want to turn this on. I don't want to watch Home and Away. I want to actually watch this.
Yeah.
I don't watch Home and Away, but
You do.
you get
I
where
know, I know.
you get where I'm going. So, Big Bash next year. Get the Nationals in there, mate. We want to, guys. We want to see the most exciting brand. That's my shout on it. Under 19 World Cup, Australians in the Under 19 World Cup. It's over in South Africa. Geez, they were average to start.
Yeah, really, really poor start, wasn't it?
Drew to Bangladesh, and I actually said to the little fella, geez, was it a Duckworth-Lewis sort of style? And he said, no, it was a legitimate draw. So I was concerned, and then the West Indies rolled out, and the tall West Indies guys actually bowl pace these days. The West Indies went through a bit of a period where your 6'4", 6'5" blokes were rolling in off a few steps and throwing a few leggies down. Now, no more. They're actually back bowling pace, and they look like the team to beat.
They do, and their batting looks quite strong too.
Yeah.
Naheem Young, even at 6 and 7, he's been making runs for them lower down the order. They're just playing their role really well, and they've been settled. And that's the issue with this Australian side. They're not settled. Going in, they didn't really know who their best 11 was. I don't think they still do. And their batting order's changed time and time again. Liam Scott, the all-rounder, started the first game. He opened the batting with Jake Fraser McGurk. They've now gone with Fanning. Fraser McGurk hasn't opened the batting before in his life, and now he's doing it at the World Cup. I'm just really frustrated and disappointed that we're going into a World Cup and we couldn't get settled on what our best 11 actually looked like and who bats where.
Look, the good thing is they did make it through. They had a fantastic win against the English. They were done. They were gone for the English. Connor Sully saved their bacon, as I said. What do you
35 of 20 rocks.
35 of 20.
I think they did 48 or something.
This is a fast bowler doing this as well.
He's Nathan Coulter-Nile, isn't he? Just the way he bowls as well. In that same game, he came back 2 for 4 off his last 4 overs. After going for 35 or something off his first 6. It was an amazing spell as well.
Man of the Match award. He was very happy with himself. Look, as this show goes to air tonight, our time, they will be facing the Indians in a sudden death final.
Quarter-final, yep.
Quarter-final, so let's see how we go. The Indians generally field an under 25 team, so we might. It'll be a good challenge anyway. And now, mate, on the screen right now, we're going to show the blokes that have actually stood up so far for the Australian under 19 team. Take us through it, mate.
Yeah, I think obviously Macca Harvey hasn't probably had his best start, but he's come good. He got a 65, pretty stiff in the first few games, so he got run out back off Jake Fraser McGurk. I don't think you'll see that again in the tournament. 2 blokes getting run out because the bowler got a finger to it, but that's pretty frustrating.
Fraser McGurk had 84 against the West Indies, so he's done all right. Who else, mate?
Yeah, Lockie Hearn, I think he looks a classy bat. He got 45 at a really important time in that win over England. Look, the bowling's been really hard to look at. Tanvi Sangha took a 5-14 against Nigeria. It's Nigeria's under 19 team. I think me and you can't be the best players in that side if we're eligible to play.
You did mention you would have probably bettered Sangha's figures in that game.
Yep, I can bowl.
It's going to be exciting to see what they do against the Indian team. Let's wait and see and form your own opinions once it's done. Mate, moving right along. Pathway highlight of the week. So hasn't got much, if anything, any publicity, but whilst the Big Bash has been rolling the last couple of weeks, there's been a competition. We call it the Baby Bash. So it's actually the second 11. The states all field a second 11 side, in some case 2. So there's a Vic country and a New South Wales country side as well. It's the blokes that generally aren't playing Big Bash, or a couple that are contracted Big Bash. So they get together and they play a week-long carnival. Mate, take us through the format.
Yeah, so look, it's quite all over the shop. They play about 4 or 5 games each. It's interesting sitting down with a few state talent managers over the last couple of weeks and talking about it. That they're picking a T20 side, and they really, for them, there's no benefit because the states, at the end of the day, they're paying their players to play one-day cricket, and they're just paying them to play 4-day cricket. Whereas the Big Bash franchise are the ones that are doing the T20 stuff. So really interesting concept. As I said, that like some of the states obviously work with their Big Bash teams and go, okay, we're going to play some guys on the fringes to give them game time. They kind of reward club cricketers who are necessarily known as bigger hitters and T20 specialists, so to speak. And also the odd kid gets a game as well, and then the younger guys on the state list that aren't getting a big bash run as well. So it's kind of just thrown together. It was interesting. 4 teams went to Queensland. 3 teams went to Adelaide. They all kind of just played each other a few times. There's no real reward. There's no ladder. There's no nothing. It's more just let's play a bunch of T20s and we'll see how it goes. So it's a really interesting format. I think there's a place for it in cricket. I don't think they've got it right. I don't think the state should be picking the teams because they don't really have any impact on them going forward.
Well, you've just given the comp a whack. On the screen now, we've got some of the performances. Mate, any of these boys in here, do you see them potentially popping up on our Big Bash screens next?
It's interesting.
Next
I mean,
summer.
like, we look at WA here, and you've got Jaron Morgan. He got a 49. Again, he was upgraded and got a chance. He's a 24-year-old. He was contracted 5 years ago. Again, this gives him an opportunity to probably show his T20 skills. Aaron Hardy, he's on the Perth Scorchers list. He captained WA. Couple of good performances there with bat and ball. Then you also got a rookie there like Matty Spores, who isn't on the Scorchers list, but wants a chance to try to get into that list. So I guess they're the kind of guys that this tournament can work for. I'd say they're the guys around the mark. Daniel Drew, he obviously had a really good tournament for Adelaide, or SA, 124 out of 61, pretty impressive. He played a Shield game earlier in the year. He's Jake Lehmann found himself playing some cricket there as well. I think we'll definitely be seeing him soon enough. He's a very good player. Ben Abbott's an interesting one from New South Wales. He's a massive hitter from Parramatta, one of those T20 specialists I was just talking about, who wouldn't normally get a second 11 game or much exposure. Braden Stepien as well. He obviously got the upgrade to the Renegades list on the back of his performances at this Baby Bash and a few.
He's also on the back of Sam Harp. I think he's Superman.
Yeah, jumping over Nath Ellis. That was.
He didn't jump. That's the problem.
Took him for a ride.
Yeah.
That's who he is. But you see Max Bryan also pops up here. Jared Freeman, he's contracted with the Hobart Hurricanes. So there are some good little names here. And like I said, I think there's a place for this. I just don't think they've got it quite right. And I think they probably need to work in more with the Big Bash franchises rather than the states.
All right. So, as you said, some good performances. Hopefully it does help some of these boys out when it comes to contracting period at the end of this Big Bash.
Yep.
All right, welcome back to the show. The returning guest, the Iceman, Nathan Ellis. How are you, Nath?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Back on again, mate. Return guest.
Yeah, I know. Online.
No big fella here today, unfortunately. He's away on business, so you've just got the little fella, which I think we're all pretty happy about.
Exactly right.
Mate, an amazing season that you've had. Unfortunately, it came to an end last night. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling pretty good. Obviously, a pretty disappointing result, sort of to go out the way we did. But you can take a lot of positives. I think in the way we got there, I think was something we will look back on. When the dust settles, and we'll sort of reflect on the way that we did really well to get to where we did from where we were. So I think that's one big positive we can take out. And yeah, it was a good season in the end.
Yeah, and mate, like you saved your best for last. 1 for 18. 2 overs in the power play, the depth. An amazing spell, mate. And Trent Copeland certainly got around it on Twitter last night.
Yeah, it was a good night. It was one of those things at Bell Reeve. It's one of those places that if you don't execute, you can go the journey. But if you do, it sort of plays in your favour. So I was lucky enough to bowl a couple good overs up front, and then close out at the end. It was something that I'm in the team to do. So I was stoked that they were coming out all right.
Yeah. So you've had an incredible journey. I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, what's the biggest challenge you found over the 14 games? What's changed for you?
Yeah, obviously it's been a pretty whirlwind few weeks for me. I've gone from sort of just being a net bowler in a way to having a pretty big season playing most white ball games. So obviously in that regard it's been really good and daunting at times. But the thing for me with this Big Bash, I was just trying to learn and take in as much as I could. I think there's a fine line between taking it all in, but also treating it as another game, not getting swept up in it all. I think that was one thing I've tried to really curb. But the biggest learning curve for me, I reckon, is sort of dusting off. When you do have a bad over or you bowl a couple of bad balls, or you go for a few runs. I think the best bowlers in the game are the ones that sort of come back as if nothing's happened in a way. And I think for me that was sort of the biggest learning curve or the biggest challenge. And still, going forward, it's something I've got to work on. But I think that's what sets apart, that top echelon white ball bowler is the fact that, your good balls are going to hit for 6 and 4 too. So come back better and stronger and execute. That's probably the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, definitely. And mate, what was the highlight? Have you got something that sticks out in your mind over this first season in the Big Bash?
I probably wouldn't say one pinpoint highlight. I think playing at all the big stadiums in front of the big crowds has probably been the biggest thing for me. Things I won't forget. Optus and the Gabba and Adelaide the other night. It was obviously pretty surreal. And my first experience at a big crowd, an away crowd. So I copped my fair share of fielding it square there. So
especially fielding on the fence all night, mate.
Yeah. So that's they're the things I remember right now. Is just playing at these huge stadiums that that I'd never been to really, or if I had been there, they were empty. So it was cool running out and seeing all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's been unreal.
Who out of your teammates has been the most influential? Has anyone taken you under their wing or got around you a bit more than most?
Obviously all the boys have been really accommodating in terms of knowing it's my first season and bowling the overs I've been bowling, it can be daunting. So everyone's sort of got around me in that regard. But I can't really go past Wadey and our international Davey Miller. They've both been, unreal for me. Wadey, obviously, admit I've been captain as well. He tries to be a really calming influence. Even when, things aren't going great for the side, he's always trying to calm me down and show that he has confidence in me. And I think, whether he's just trying to put on a brave face for me or not, I think it instilled confidence in me that, he backs me sort of thing. And with Davey Miller, our overseas, he played a heap of 2020 cricket all around the world. So to have him there to talk things over, both on and off the field, and, talk things through, he was a calming influence as well.
And I guess a lot of people are now saying the sky's the limit for you. I mean, what's next for Nathan Ellis? Have you thought about playing overseas, or I guess have those thoughts after having such a great Big Bash? Have those thoughts of playing maybe a T20 or a one-day game for Australia? Have they entered your mind, or are they being talked about by anyone?
Not so much. I think as a kid you always aspire. Everyone wants to play for Australia and get that Australian cap or the baggy green cap or. But for me now, I'm just taking it a game at a time. I know it's a cliche, but it's very much what I'm doing at the moment. I've sort of I'm new onto the scene, so just trying to keep my hat in the ring through performance and keep my head above water there. I've had a great time with the Hurricanes as BBL, so as I said, I just want to keep throwing my hat in the ring and keep trying to execute and perform. And then if anything comes from there, obviously I'd love to keep learning and keep playing my trade.
Yeah, definitely. I think we might see someone else very soon, mate. But obviously, there's still a little bit of cricket to go this year. You've played Marsh Cup, one-day stuff. You've played all the games in the Big Bash. Are we going to see you play some Red Ball Shield cricket?
I really hope so. I've said it all along that I just want to play as much cricket as I can, whether that's red ball or white ball. I love red ball cricket just as much as I do white ball. And the Duke ball now as well for the back end of the season, which is obviously really enticing as well. So same sort of thing as the pre-season with the white ball stuff. I'll just be in the nets and doing what I can to try and put my name forward. And if I get the opportunity, try and do the best I can. But at the moment, just trying to put my hand in the ring and try and get my name in the selection meetings.
Nice, mate. Nice. And mate, last question. I know we asked this last time. We ask everyone. Who's the most unique bloke at the Canes? Is there something that's happened or anything? Can you tell me anything? Give me something good on your mates.
I think last time I said player to watch was Froggy Freeman, but one for me is probably the bloke you want in your change room at all times is James Faulkner. I think he's obviously played a lot of cricket and with a lot of experience, but mate, he's whether a win, loss, you've been smashed, or you've had a good game, he is the man there that puts a smile on everyone's face, and whether that's laughing with him or at him. He's a cracker to have around.
Yeah, nice, mate. Well, again, mate, 15 Big Bash games. Who would have thought it? The boy from New South Wales who strolled down on his own back to go to Tasmania, and look at what you've done. Congrats on a great year, and mate, hopefully we see you somewhere else and nice on the big stage again soon.
Legend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nate.
Mate, let's move on to the wrap. What are you going to be watching this week? What's interesting to you in the world of cricket this week, mate?
I'm really excited to see who the Melbourne Stars go with their best 11. I think it's really up in the air. If you look at their recent performance, it's been quite poor. They've lost a lot of games.
3 out of 4.
Yeah, and I know they've probably tried a few things and deliberately because they were at home and they knew where they were going to be in the finals and they knew they were going to be playing. But what's their best 11 now? I mean, Harris Ralph is now coming back. They've just lost Sandeep. Zampa was out of the side. Now he's back. Hinchcliffe's been going really well. What's the makeup of their 11? Lance Morris has got games. Worrell's played at times. Coulson Niles been in and out. So they haven't really had a settled team for about a month. And with the losses, it creates a bit of pressure. Dunk's been out of the side in the top of the order. They tried opening Gotch the other night. Cartwright's been hit and miss.
The one thing the Stars have done over the 9 years of the Big Bash, and they've done it very well, mess it up once it comes to finals.
Yeah,
now, they've actually started a month early this year. Normally they fly into the finals and then trip over themselves, but they started a month early. Started 4 games early this year, so that's going to be interesting. Now, bit of a double whack this week, mate. I'm hearing. We touched on one before. Let's roll with it, mate. Who are you putting the blowtorch to this week, mate?
Okay, so if we go back to an earlier episode, we asked each other who's going to win the Big Bash. And we both said the same team, that being the Brisbane Heat. Now, the other night, they lost 10 for 36. 10 for 30, they were flying, they were cruising, 10 for 36 and lost. And that just sums up their season. They have an amazing list. They've got A.B. de Villiers, Matt Renshaw, Joe Burns, Max Bryant, Chris Lynn, Ben Cutting. Their batting should be unbelievable.
I heard Chris had a horse race in that night and they really wanted to get down the track and see it.
They've finished second last. They've missed the finals. They're not in the finals.
It's been a pretty terrible performance from them, hasn't it?
It's shocking. It is absolutely deplorable, that effort. There needs to be serious questions asked. They brought in Darren Lehman, who's obviously a highly regarded coach. They finished second last.
Not good enough, Heat. Not good enough, mate. Second part of the whack.
Perth Scorchers, again, they've missed finals. Their list, and let's just forget about Perth Scorchers for a second. The WA in general have a very good list, and I know that the franchises are different.
That's why the Stars are doing so well, because most of them are playing for the Stars.
That's right. But how can you lose all this talent? How can all your talent be elsewhere? Like, what's going on wrong at Perth? Are they contracting the wrong guys? They've got 3, no disrespect, they've got 3 club cricketers in their top 6. You look at their top 6 in one-day cricket or in Shield cricket, it's almost an Australian side.
Probably a bit of an over-ambitious whack for me. I mean, Ty and Berendorf, 2
The bowling wasn't the issue, though. It was their batting. Their batting's been the issue the entire tournament. It's beyond me how you can have that many good players in your state and all of them go elsewhere. The Scorchers have done something wrong with their list management. I'm not whacking the Scorchers. I'm whacking the Scorchers list management.
To me, he's looking for a new job. Now, what do you think, mate? Brisbane or Perth?
Well, we'll see how we go. I reckon I'm going to turn them both around. Not good enough, though. They're 2 powerhouse teams of the Big Bash, and they haven't made the finals. Disappointing.
For me, what I'm looking forward to, look, the Big Bash has started to redeem itself. Obviously, it is finals time. Taking that aside, we've got internationals. We've got the right internationals in. Sorry, AB, you're not playing, but we've got the Australian national players back in. It's exciting. I'm really looking forward to watching pardon the pun, watching the fireworks as the finals roll through. Who do you think's going to win it, mate?
My money's on the Stars. I think their best cricket. I think Maxwell and Stoinis are just that far ahead of everyone else at the moment. My money's on the Stars.
Pains me to say it because I'm not a pink fan at all, but I actually think magenta. I actually think the Sixers are going to win it. Pains me to say it, but I think they will. Look at the national class they've got coming back in Smith, Hazelwood, Lyon.
They've lost Curran. Tommy Curran's out.
Yeah, he smelt most of the season. He had a good game at the end, but he had 3 games where he went for 60. 3.
Yep.
And not good enough for somebody who's on millions of dollars a year for doing this circuit. Not good enough. So that's what I'm looking at this year. We're going to wrap the show up here. On next week's show, we're going to be still in the middle of the Big Bash final. It's going to be interesting. The knockout round is going to be, we're going to see if your Stars actually do get straight through to the final, seeing they did finish on top. We're also going to talk about the Under-19 World Cup. The Australians might have beaten the Indian Under-25s, or they might have lost and just be sitting in South Africa doing some tours. Mate, thank you for joining us this week.
Mate, it's always been good.
As usual, guys, you can watch our show on YouTube, listen to the podcast, jump on bigfellalittlefella.com and all social medias. See you next time.